Good morning. I'd like to call the Committee of Adjustment meeting for November the 10th to order. And we'll have the adoption of the agenda. Moved by Member Bridgman, second by Member Grogan Green. Be it resolved that Committee of Adjustment agenda dated November 10th, 2025 be adopted. All those in favor? That's carried. Are there any conflict of interest? Seeing none. And do you want to do your little speech there? Here. And moved by Member Stokes, second by Member Bridgman, be it resolved that Committee of Adjustment minutes dated October 14, 2025 be adopted and approved as circulated. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That's carried.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. It is required that I make a few statements, then I will explain the hearing procedures. This electronic hearing is being held in accordance with Section 238 of the Municipal Act. The members of the Committee of Adjustment present are Alan Edwards, Barb Bridgman, Lisa Grogan Green, and Sean Stokes. I can confirm we have quorum and that senior staff and planning staff are present. Public input on this November 10th agenda was invited at the following email address, planning@muskokalakes.ca. Now I will explain the hearing process. The planner will provide an explanation and the purpose of the application, the date the notice was circulated, and planning staff's comments. All internal and external submissions received by 8:15 a.m. today have been made available to the committee members and the public. These submissions can be viewed under Section 10 of the agenda. When able, planning staff will do their best to circulate submissions that were received after 8:15. These submissions will also form part of the public record and will be available for the public on the township's government portal. The planner will identify the source of each submission and whether it is in support or opposition to the application. Should committee members wish to view any submissions during the meeting, they may request that it be projected onto the council chamber screen to view. The committee will hear from the applicant or the applicant's agent if they wish to add any information or to substantiate their proposal. Please provide your name, mailing address, and postal code for our records. The committee will hear from those in support of the application and those in opposition to the application. Again, please provide your name, mailing address, and postal code for our records. Presentations are limited to 5 minutes unless otherwise permitted by the committee. If you are here to speak on an application electronically, please wait until after the planner presents the relevant application to raise your hand in Zoom. If you are here to speak on an application in person, when asked, please raise your hand, and when you are recognized by the chair, approach the podium, turn on the microphone, and remain at the podium while you state your comments for recording purposes. The committee will hear from the applicant or the applicant's agent to respond to any questions or concerns raised. The committee will then have the opportunity to ask questions, have a debate on the application, and make a decision based on the information presented at the hearing. Please note that the effect of written and oral submissions on decisions for consent and minor variances, along with the reasons for the minor variance decisions, are both required under the Planning Act, and motions are pre-populated with standard wording. However, the committee may decide to add reasons and/or effects to the standard wording after voting on a decision. Motions have been pre-populated with random movers and seconders to expedite the meeting. When it is time to vote, members shall physically raise their hand until the chair has confirmed the vote. If the vote is unclear, a verbal vote shall be recorded. This is not considered a recorded vote. It must be noted the chair has a vote on each application and can participate in the discussion. There is a 20-day appeal period from the date of the decision. Building permits are not available until after the appeal period and if no appeals are received. Due to the uncertainty of Canada Post, we ask all of those who would like a copy of the notice of decision to email planning@muskokalakes.ca. Lastly, please take down the pink notice signs that were posted on your property to advertise today's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ward. The first application is B 4725 ML. Ms. Walker?
Thank you, Chair Edwards. The first application to be heard is consent application B 4725 ML in the name of WALLACE. The subject lands are located at 1852 Peninsula Road, Unit 2. I would direct committee's attention to the submitted consent sketches starting on page 24 of the agenda package. The application has been submitted to grant a right-of-way for access across lands currently in the ownership of Blanche Wallace in favor of the property owner to the south, currently in the ownership of David and Kathleen Wallace. The proposed right-of-way will be located over an existing private driveway. Notice of this public hearing under the Planning Act was circulated 17 days in advance of this meeting, and 5 comments have been received to date. Comments were received from Nick Snyder, the Township's Chief Building Official, Matt Veach, the Township's Development and Transportation Engineering Coordinator, Paul Lyden, the Township's Fire Prevention Officer, and Chriselle Story, the Township's Land and Agreements Coordinator, and Sarah Campbell, Planner for the District of Muskoka. These comments were all circulated to committee prior to today's meeting. Staff have prepared a detailed report for committee's consideration. Staff recommend consent application B/47/25/ML Wallace be approved, subject to the conditions of consent which are outlined in the staff report. I have no further comments, but I'm happy to assist committee with any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Walker. Is the applicant or applicant's agent here wishing to speak on this?
They're just rejoining.
Yep.
Hello, sorry for the delay. Yes, I would like to speak on this application. So good morning, council, as well as the chair and staff. My name is Jillian Snyder from Planscape Inc., 104 Kimberley Avenue in Bracebridge, Ontario, P1L1Z8. Today I'm speaking on behalf of Blanche Wallace, owners of 1852 Unit 2, Peninsula Road, as well as Dave and Kathy Wallace to the property to the south, which is Unit 1 on the same address. I wanted to start by thanking Caitlin Wallace for assistance through this file, as well as for presentation this morning. I do not have much to add to this application, apart from noting that this right-of-way has been used informally for many years now, and it is the most appropriate access to the subject property due to topographical constraints present on Unit 1 with its frontage on Peninsula Road, as well as the heritage designation to the property to the south, which would not make an adequate or appropriate access point as well. I've reviewed the conditions of approval for this application and find them appropriate. I've also conferred with my clients and they are happy to comply with them. I thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in support of this application? Anyone in opposition? No. Other questions from the members? Yeah. Excuse me. Moved by member Grogan Green, second by member Stokes. Be it resolved that consent be granted for application B 4725 ML Wallace, providing the following conditions are fulfilled. 1, that a satisfactory registrable description deed of the separate lot right of way be submitted to the township along with a registered copy of the reference plan. 2, the confirmation be received that the township is satisfied that the retained lot is satisfactory for on-site sewage disposal and that any problems identified with any existing sewage system be corrected to the satisfaction of the township. And 3, that confirmation be received that the District of Muskoka is satisfied with existing entrance and that the entrance permit is obtained from the District of Muskoka for existing shared access onto the district road. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That's carried. And the next application is A 5325, and that's Ms. DeMello.
Thank you, Chair Edwards. The next application to be heard is minor variance application A-5325 in the name of HARPER. The subject lands are known municipally as 1173 Elgin House Road, Unit Number 4. I would direct committee's attention to the submitted site plan on page 43 of the agenda package. The applicant proposes to construct a 390 square foot addition to an existing one-story boathouse and to recognize an as-built Sea-Doo lift. Notice of this public hearing under the Planning Act was circulated 17 days in advance of this meeting, and 4 comments have been received to date. Comments received from Legislative Services, Operational Services, Emergency Services, and the Building Division indicate no objection. Comments received for this application were circulated to committee members prior to the hearing. The proposed variances are summarized as shown on the screen. This table was included in the circulation materials and can be found in the agenda package. I've prepared a detailed report for committee's consideration and have recommended that the application be approved, subject to the following condition: that the existing shed located on the dock not shown on the submitted site plan be removed. Staff have no further comments at this time and are happy to answer any questions from committee.
Thank you very much. Is the applicant or applicant agent here wishing to speak on this?
Good morning, Chair Edwards. My name is Ryan Allen, Registered Professional Planner, 16 McNabb Street, Bracebridge, Ontario, P1L1R4. I'm here today representing Tori Harper with her variance application to expand the existing boathouse. I would note that during the process of preparing the plans, we observed a Sea-Doo lift that was attached to the side of the dock. And if you have a look at Ms. DeMello's photos in figure 6 of her report, the lift is actually compliant in the stored position, but it is non-compliant in the in-water position. So out of an abundance of caution, we included the additional dock width for the lift. The boathouse addition is simply to provide some additional storage at the back of the boathouse. Currently, the 30-foot depth boathouse, the slips are right to the very back of the boathouse with about 5 feet of space. So they're looking for some additional room to store kayaks, canoes, paddleboards, and the like. Every other component of the variance complies with the bylaw. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Allen. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak in support of this application? Anyone in opposition? No? Questions from the members? Yes. Member Bridgman?
Thank you, Chair Edwards. Just a couple of questions. One is figure 2 is a view of the existing 2-story shed. That looks a lot to me like a sleeping cabin. Mr. Allen, can you comment on that?
Yes, I can. Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. I had the same thought when I saw that building as well. It is one of those sheds that can be purchased on the side of the highway. I was inside that shed. There is no second story above. That is simply just the look of the building. There is no sleeping space in that building at all. It's simply used to store garden equipment and lawnmowers. The existing garage does have a sleeping cabin above it.
Okay, thank you. Yes, it's a lovely looking shed.
It is nice, but it does attract some attention as looking something that's not just storage.
It would. So I have another comment if I could, Chair Edwards.
Yes, go ahead.
And part of the report was talking about the fact that part of the justification is that the dock is not as long as it could be under our bylaws. So I don't have a problem with this, but I'm wondering if we would like to put in the constraint that if the dock is going to be lengthened, it has to come back to council so that the first variance can be looked at before a dock length is done. Because after this is done, I believe they can lengthen the dock under just a building permit. So I don't know if anybody else wants to comment on that.
Any other comments?
Through you, Chair Edwards, I didn't have a comment on the length of the dock. My comment was on the width, and we're looking for approval here to extend the cumulative width by 4 feet, and that's strictly with respect to the Sea-Doo lift. But my assumption would be that if we allow the dock to be extended to 56 feet, it's not just in that specific area. So then the homeowner could go and extend the entire dock to that width. Is that an accurate assumption?
Through you, Chair Edwards, the additional width would only be for the as-built Sea-Doo lift. The site plan identifies the area where the Sea-Doo lift extends beyond the 52 feet of width of the dock, and the variance would only be applied to that area, so they wouldn't be able to extend the rest of the dock.
Okay,
To
fair enough.
56 feet
'Cause
of
my
width.
concern was setting a precedent that we didn't really want to set. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay. Moved by member Bridgman, second by member Grogan Green. Be it resolved that minor variance application A 5325 Harper to construct a 390 square foot addition to an existing one-story boathouse and to recognize an as-built Sea-Doo lift is hereby approved with the following variance being granted: to grant a lot coverage of 4,126 square feet or 11% within 200 feet of the high water mark, and to permit a dock to be 56 feet in cumulative width. These variants are granted as shown on the plan attached to the notice of decision, subject to the following condition: the existing shed located on the dock not shown on submitted site plan be removed. This approval shall remain in effect for 3 years from the date of decision. Any questions or comments? So does that satisfy you, member Bridgman, or would you like something added?
Oh, no, I just wondered if anybody else was thinking that way. Not on this particular application, but I think sometimes we could make people come back for variances. So I'm good. It looks good.
Okay, yes, member Grogan Green.
So I agreed with member Bridgman, actually. I noticed that as well, that I see sometimes where we're allowing widths to be, above traditional zoning bylaw. And then I know that eventually that could result in a much larger dock. But when I heard that it only has to do with the Sea-Doo in this case, I let it go. But I actually agree with member Bridgman that we should consider that sometimes.
Okay, thank you. So all those in favor? That's carried.
Thank you.
Okay. And the next application is A 5625, and that's Ms. Walker.
Thank you, Chair Edwards. The next application to be heard is minor variance application A 5625 in the name of 2227027 Ontario Inc. The subject lands are known municipally as 1181 Walkers Point Road, Unit 15. I would direct committee's attention to the submitted site plan on page 69 of the agenda package. The applicants are proposing to permit the as-built conversion of a crawl space under a sun deck to a habitable floor area associated with a dwelling within the required front yard. The proposed variance is summarized on the screen in front of you. This table was also included in the circulation materials and can be found in the agenda package. Notice of this public hearing under the Planning Act was circulated 17 days in advance of this meeting, and 8 comments have been received to date. Comments were received from Nick Snyder, the Township's Chief Building Official, Matt Veach, the Township's Development and Transportation Engineering Coordinator, Paul Lydon, the Township's Fire Prevention Officer, Chriselle Story, the Township's Land and Agreements Coordinator, all of which were stating no objection to the application. 4 letters of support from area property owners were submitted as part of the application package. Letters were received from David Allen, Wendy Jarvis, Richard McGraw, and Karen Ruby. All comments were circulated to committee prior to today's meeting and can be anything that was received after, it would be available on the government portal. Staff have prepared a detailed report for committee's consideration and have recommended that the application be approved. Staff have no comments but are happy to answer any questions from committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Walker. Is the applicant or applicant agent here? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Edwards and members of the Committee of Adjustment. My name's Adam Curran, 135 Woodcliff Road in Corbeil, Ontario, POH 1KO. I'm the agent for the applicant, so I'm just here if there's any questions of myself. Generally, we concur with planning's report, so thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak in support of this application? Anyone in opposition? No? Other questions from the members? Moved by Member Stokes, second by Member Bridgman. Be it resolved that minor variance application A 5625, that's 2227027 Ontario Inc., to permit an as-built conversion of a crawl space under the sun deck to a habitable floor space within the required front yard is hereby approved, with the following variance being granted: to permit a front yard setback of 36 feet. This variance is granted as shown on the plan attached to the notice of decision. This approval shall remain in effect for 3 years from the date of decision. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That's carried.
Thank you.
The next application is A 5825. Ms. DeMello?
Thank you, Chair Edwards. The next application to be heard is minor variance application A-5825 in the name of WEINWURM. Subject lands are known municipally as 1035 Brandy Crest Road, unit number 10. I would direct committee's attention to the submitted site plan on page 108 of the agenda package. The applicants propose to recognize an as-built sun deck. Notice of this public hearing under the Planning Act was circulated 17 days in advance of this meeting, and 4 comments have been received to date. Comments from operational services, legislative services, and emergency services indicate no objection. Comments from the building division indicate no objection, and note that the sun deck was constructed without the benefit of a building permit, and that a building permit application will be required should the application be approved. A letter indicating no objection to the requested variance for the sun deck was received from Grant and Doreen Saberite at 1035 Brandy Crest Road, unit number 8. Comments received for this application were circulated to committee members prior to the meeting. The proposed variance is summarized as shown on the screen. This table was included in the circulation materials and can be found in the agenda package. Staff have prepared a detailed report for committee's consideration and have recommended that the application be approved subject to the following conditions: that the front yard setback of the as-built sun deck be increased to 20 feet in line with the existing sauna, that a revised site plan be submitted to the Committee of Adjustment Coordinator for inclusion in committee's notice of decision respecting the application, that the skirting be removed from the as-built sun deck, and that a satisfactory site plan agreement be entered into and registered on title, along with securities for matters including but not limited to the retention of existing vegetation and plantings to retain and re-vegetate the shoreline buffer. Staff have no further comments at this time and are happy to answer any questions from committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mello. The applicant agent here wish to speak on this.
Thank you. Yeah, good morning, committee, Lanny Dennis, Planning Box 254, Nova, Ontario, P0A1R0. Also with me this morning is Ron Phillips. He also represents the owner of the property. Certainly appreciate all the efforts of staff bringing the application forward. Had an opportunity to review the report and listen briefly, obviously, to the presentation. And that's a fair and accurate assessment of the proposal. I'd like to move forward with the approval of the application, but I'd also like committee to consider the removal of the condition that it be built at the 20 feet and consider it being built at the 11.5 foot setback that originally was proposed. And also with respect to the condition related to the skirting. We did have a pre-con discussion with staff. Unfortunately, the item with respect to the additional deck wasn't brought forward. Having said that, I understand, being in the planning profession, that it's also subject to further review. Basically, the merits of the proposal for the entire deck, one is that there's no other variances required. This is the only variance that's required as part of this application. The deck itself is like a dock when you compare it to, there is a component within the staff report discussing the floodplain. You can see from the, well, you could see from the slats in the boards that with respect to any flooding, water would come easily in and out of the boards, so there'd be no additional offsite impacts. The location underneath the deck is bedrock. So removing the deck to put additional plantings there would be virtually impossible to do. With respect to the condition being imposed for planting on the property, that's fine. We would try to ensure the 15-meter buffer be retained and try to replenish that so that there would be a net improvement to the site. Obviously, constructing on bedrock meant there was no tree removal. Other factors or other items to consider, the cumulative width at about 4 meters, I think it's 3.85 meters of the existing dock, is well under the 8.6 meters that's permitted as of cumulative right. The shoreline from the photos on the screen, I think I submitted maybe 3, yeah. So the idea, it doesn't encompass the entire shoreline, but it does encompass the area with respect to the sauna and the deck. And there is some tree cover along the shoreline that does help buffer it from the water. And with respect to the other side where there was a deck as well, there were photos in the report that also showed that there was some tree cover that helps with maintaining or minimizing the visual impact. Consideration of the deck at this location, the overall amount of development along the shoreline, the built form, is fairly negligible. There's no boathouse, there's no boat port, and there's only a small dock. So I think if this was granted, if there was other structures were there, it would make a big difference. The deck is, as you can see, fairly low profile. It's modest in size. And the real reason why the deck and the sauna was put there, even though it's not really a planning argument, is for a family member who has mobility issues, so they can get down to the deck and the sauna to enjoy the lakefront. So having the additional deck allows for the full recreational enjoyment of the property. The deck covering the bedrock offers an opportunity to make the property more functional. It's a lot nicer sitting on that deck than it is on a hard bedrock. We had a brief discussion about the Brandy Lake and the water quality with staff. It didn't seem that this proposal would trigger an ecological report. Suggested that we do that, but there are policies in your official plan that speak to trying to maintain the water quality by buffering, by screening, And that's what we intend to do. And that's one of the conditions that was imposed on the recommendations from staff. I certainly think that having the deck there over top of bedrock isn't going to increase or influence any additional water that's rolling into the lake. If it was bedrock, it'd go there. If it's a deck, might even slow it down a little bit.
Okay.
I was just going to conclude.
Good.
Yeah, in conclusion, retaining the proposed 249 square foot deck meets the 4 tests of a minor variance, as there would be no unacceptable visual or ecological adverse impacts. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in support of this application? No, anyone in opposition? Questions from the members? I'll go to Member Stokes first and then Member Bridgman.
Just a point of clarification, so I understand the building division makes mention of the BCA Building Code Act orders issued January 2025. I just want to understand what that was and what that means. Does that mean they need to get a building permit? Is that what that means?
Through you, Chair Edwards. Yes, an order to comply was issued for the construction of the sun deck without the benefit of a building permit. So should this application be approved, they would be required to get a building permit for the sun deck.
So that's what the BCA order is.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Member Bridgman.
Thank you, Chair Edwards. Just for anybody listening in, can we clarify that the sauna itself is within our bylaws? Just so that everybody knows we're only dealing with the deck? Mr. Mello?
Through your, Chair Edwards, yes, the sauna complies with the standards in the zoning bylaw.
Correct. So I am in complete support of the recommendations by staff. This is a built form that is very recognizable within the area. And if it's cut back to what staff is recommending without the skirting, so that takes away more built form, there's still an area for a chair to be there for anybody who has mobility problems. They'll still be able to sit beside the sauna. So I'm in complete agreement with what's being recommended here.
Okay. Any other questions? I have one. The sauna. Is that a wood burning sauna or it is? And then I guess for staff, even though it's inside, what about fire regulations as far as if there's a fire ban on? I think somebody had mentioned it in their email.
Through you, Chair Edwards, should there be a fire ban in effect, then the wood burning sauna wouldn't be permitted to be used.
Would be permitted?
It wouldn't be.
Wouldn't be. Okay.
Because the heat
Just so
source is
they know.
wood.
Thank you very much. Excuse me. Moved by Member Grogan Green, second by Member Stokes. Be it resolved that minor variance application B 5825 and that WEINWURM to recognize an as-built sun deck and the front yard setback 11.5 feet be revised with the following variance being granted to permit a sun deck to be located back 20 feet from the high water mark. This variance is granted as shown on the plan attached to the notice of decision and is subject to the following conditions. 1, that the front yard setback of the as-built sun deck be increased to 20 feet in line with the existing sauna. 2, that the revised site plan be submitted to the Committee of Adjustment Coordinator for inclusion of committee's notice of decision respecting the application. 3, that the skirting be removed from the as-built sun deck. And 4, that a satisfactory site plan agreement be entered into and registered on title, along with securities for matters including, but not limited to, retention of existing vegetation and planting to retain and revegetate the shoreline buffer. This approval shall remain in effect for 3 years from the date of decision. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That's carried.
Thank you, Chair Edwards. The next application to be heard is minor variance application A-60/25 in the name of SAS. The subject lands are known municipally as 1017 Avon Road. I would direct committee's attention to the submitted site plan on page 129 of the agenda package. The applicant is proposing to reconstruct and relocate an existing dock and two-story boathouse further from the southerly side lot line. The proposed variances are summarized as shown on the screen in front of you, and this table was also included in the circulation materials and can be found in the agenda package. This is part 1, and that's part 2. Notice of this public hearing under the Planning Act was circulated 12 days in advance of this meeting, and 4 comments have been received to date. Comments were received from Nick Snyder, the Township's Chief Building Official, Matt Veach, the Township's Development and Transportation Engineering Coordinator, Paul Lydon, the Township's Fire Prevention Officer, Chriselle Story, the Township's Land and Agreements Coordinator, all stating no objection. All of these comments were circulated to committee prior to today's meeting. Staff have prepared a detailed report for committee's consideration and have recommended that the application be approved subject to the condition which is detailed in the staff report. I have no other comments, but I'm happy to assist with any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Water. Is the applicant or applicant's agent here wish to speak on this?
Hello.
Hello?
Hi. My name is Joe Earhart. I am from Steenop Building Services Group located in Port Carling at 3680 Highway 118 West. That's Unit 3, POB 1J0. Speaking on behalf of the homeowner. And I'd just like to thank the chair, members and councils and staff for help bring this proposal forward. I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak in support of this application? Anyone in opposition? Questions from the members? No? Moved by member Bridgman, second by member Grogan Green. Be it resolved that minor variance application A-6025, that's SAS, to construct and relocate an existing dock and a two-story boathouse is hereby approved, with the following variance being granted. 1, to permit a two-story boathouse containing a sleeping cabin on a lot with 2 dwelling units. 2, to permit a two-story boathouse containing a sleeping cabin on a lot with less than 300 feet of frontage in accordance with zoning provisions applicable to the lot with 300 feet of lot frontage. 3, to permit a maximum cumulative boat width of 32 feet from the first and second story of a two-story boathouse. 4, to permit a two-story boathouse with a rooftop sun deck to be set back 12.5 feet from the southerly lot line projection. 5, to permit a dock to be set back 8 feet from the southerly lot line projection. And 4, to permit a two-story boathouse with a rooftop sun deck to extend into the front yard 19.5 feet. These variances are granted as shown on the plan attached to the notice of the decision and are subject to the following condition. 1, to the site plan agreement be entered into and registered on title for matters including but not important to addressing the development of a two-story boathouse within a floodplain and access. This approval shall remain in effect for 3 years from the date of decision. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That's carried. And the next application is A 6125, and that's Ms. DeMello.
You, Chair Edwards. The next application to be heard is minor variance application A-6125 in the name of MALONEY. The subject lands are known municipally as 1052 McKenzie Road. I would direct committee's attention to the submitted site plan on page 153 of the agenda package. The applicants propose to recognize an as-built sun deck and as-built stairs attached to an existing single-story dwelling. Notice of this public hearing under the Planning Act was circulated 17 days in advance of this meeting, and 4 comments have been received to date. Comments from the Township's Legislative Services Department indicate that the property owners have submitted a license agreement application to address encroachments, including a septic system and retaining wall, located on the Township's road allowance, and the application was granted conditional approval. The comments further state that the portion of the sun deck encroaching onto Township lands was to be removed through the license agreement application. Comments received from the Township's Building Division indicate no objection to the application and state that the sun deck was built without the benefit of a building permit. A building permit is required should the application be approved. Surveyor confirmation of setbacks will be required through the building permit process. Comments received from the Township's Operational Services Department state that setbacks from the road allowance can present future maintenance issues and increased costs associated with tree maintenance. Operational Services would prefer that the setback from the road allowance is achieved if at all possible. Comments from the Township's Emergency Services Department indicate no objection. A letter of objection was received from Ken and Elaine Nevison at 1056 McKenzie Road. Comments received for this application were circulated to committee members prior to the meeting. The proposed variances are summarized as shown on the screen. This table was included in the circulation materials and can be found in the agenda package. Staff have prepared a detailed report for committee's consideration and have recommended that the application be approved subject to the following condition: that a satisfactory site plan agreement be entered into and registered on title, along with securities for matters including but not limited to the retention of existing vegetation and plantings to revegetate the shoreline buffer. Staff have no further comments at this time and are happy to answer any questions from committee.
Thank you very much, Ms. DeMello. Is the applicant or applicant's agent here wishing to speak on this?
Morning, everyone. My name is Tom Maloney, 552 Rosecliff Terrace, London, Ontario, and 6K4H5. I just want to thank everybody that I've worked with for their patience on this. I'm not an experienced person with planning or dealing with bylaw requirements. I do want to make a couple of notes that the structure is very, very old. It was built by a previous owner. There's very low visibility from either side of the road. The one that drives in part of it that drives in front of my property, but also there's a part that drives across the street. There's a lot of trees that surround the area. There's also very low visibility of the deck from the water too. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak in support of this application? Anyone in opposition to this application? No. Questions from the members? Moved by member Stokes, second by member Bridgman. Be it resolved that minor variance application A 6125 MALONEY to recognize an as-built sun deck and as-built stairs to an existing single-story dwelling is hereby approved, with the following variance being granted. 1, to permit a minimum setback from a street or non-open road allowance to be 2.5 feet for the as-built stairs. 2, to permit a minimum exterior side yard setback from the westerly side lot line to be 2.5 feet for the as-built stairs. 3, to permit a minimum setback from the street or a non-open road allowance to be 2.5 feet for an as-built sun deck. 4, to permit a minimum exterior side lot setback of the westerly side lot line to be 2.5 feet from the as-built sun deck. And 5, to permit a minimum front yard setback to be 10 feet for an as-built sun deck. These variances are granted as shown on the plan attached to the notice of decision and hereby subject to the following condition: that a satisfactory site plan agreement be entered into and registered on title, along with securities for matters including but not limited to the retention of existing vegetation and plantings to revegetate the shoreline buffer. This approval shall remain in effect for 3 years from the date of decision. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Oh, just a second, I'm sorry. Member Bridgman, you had a comment?
Yeah, just a couple of questions. Thank you, Chair Edwards. On the letter of objection, can I assume that the items that have been pointed out here are being looked at by the township, all of those? I know some of them have been looked at, but I just think for the Nevesons, it would be nice for them to know that it's been noted by the township. Could I get someone's comment on that?
Yes.
Through you, Chair Edwards, staff have reviewed the letter of objection from the resident, and the items that were listed in the letter are being looked into. Some of the items have to do with the existing encroachments on the township's road allowance, which are being addressed through the license agreement application. And then there are other items as well that have been raised to the property owner.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And through you, just one more, Ms. DeMello. I know this is close to the shoreline, but as you noted in your report, it's in character with other properties there that are that close to the shoreline with their decks. Could I just get a confirmation on that, please?
Through you, Chair Edwards, yes, it was staff's observation during the site visit that other properties in proximity to the subject lot also contain reduced front yard setbacks from the high water mark.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Now I have read the motion. All those in favor? That's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Edwards. The next application to be heard is minor variance application A-64/25 in the name of Yushishin. The subject lands are known municipally as 1059 Big Joe Road, Unit 20. I would direct committee's attention to the submitted site plan on page 170 of the agenda package. The applicants are proposing to demolish an existing two-story dwelling with an attached sun deck and to construct a new two-story dwelling with an attached sun deck. The proposed variance is summarized as shown on the screen, and this table was included in the circulation materials and can be found in the agenda package. The variance is for an additional 1% lot coverage. Notice of this public meeting under the Planning Act was circulated 12 days in advance of this meeting, and 4 comments have been received to date. Comments were received from Nick Snyder, the Township's Chief Building Official, Matt Beach, the Township's Development and Transportation Engineering Coordinator, Paul Lyden, the Township's Fire Prevention Officer, Chriselle Story, the Township's Land and Agreements Coordinator, all of which stated no objection to the application. All these comments were circulated to committee prior to today's meeting. Staff have prepared a detailed report for committee's consideration and have recommended that the application be approved. I have no other comments, but I'm happy to assist with any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Walker. Is the applicant or applicant's agent here wishing to speak on this?
Hello again, Chair Edwards. Ryan Allen, Registered Professional Planner, 16 McNabb Street, Bracebridge, Ontario, P1L1R4. Thanks, Ms. Walker, for your review of the application and your positive report. There's an existing two-story cottage that's proposed to be removed and replaced with a new two-story cottage in approximately the same location. There was a variance issued for an addition to that existing cottage to allow a front yard setback of 41 feet. The existing cottage is set back 44 feet. The majority of the new cottage will be built back more than 50 feet from the shoreline, and the setback complies, as well as the height, as well as the setback of the decks. The only variance in front of the committee is to permit a 371 square foot larger cottage than would otherwise be permitted. A shoreline buffer provides excellent visual screening from lake views, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Allen. And is there anyone here wishing to speak in support of this application? Anyone in opposition to this application? Questions from the members? Moved by member Grogan Green, second by member Stokes. Be it resolved that minor variance application A 6425 Musician to demolish an existing two-story dwelling with an attached sun deck and to be construct a new two-story dwelling with an attached sun deck is hereby approved with the following variances being granted. 1, to permit a maximum lot coverage of 11%, 4,187 square feet within 200 feet of the high water mark. This variance is granted as shown on plan attached to the notice of decision. This approval shall remain in effect for 3 years from the date of decision. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That's carried.
That's great. Thank you.
And the next application is A 6525, and that'll be Ms. Walker.
Thank you, Chair Edwards. The next application to be heard is minor variance application A 6525 in the name of Brenton and Martin. The subject lands are known municipally as 1113 Butterfly Road. I would direct committee's attention to the submitted site plan on page 185 of the agenda package. The applicants are proposing to construct in addition to a single-story garage and to expand the existing garage. The addition will include the expansion of the garage, a new carport, and an upper story addition. The proposed variances are summarized as shown on the screen. This table was also included in the circulation materials and can be found on the agenda package. The variances are for additional lot coverage and an interior side yard setback. Notice of this public hearing under the Planning Act was circulated 14 days in advance of this meeting, and 4 comments have been received to date. Comments were received from Nick Snyder, the Township's Chief Building Official, Matt Veach, the Township's Development and Transportation Engineering Coordinator, Paul Lydon, the Township's Fire Prevention Officer, Chriselle Story, the Township's Land and Agreements Coordinator, all of which stated no objection to the application. All comments were circulated to committee prior to today's meeting. Staff have prepared a detailed report for committee's consideration and have recommended the application be approved. Staff have no further comments, but I'm happy to assist with any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is the applicant's agent here wish to speak on this? Yes, go ahead.
Good morning. Through you, Mr. Chair. My name is Bobby Leppington, 190 Taylor Road, Bracebridge, Ontario, P1L 1J9. Thank you to staff, and I'm speaking on behalf of this application today, and I just have a few points I want to make. Our proposed garage to the east is proposed to have an addition to the east because the septic is on the west side. It is a fully raised septic, and we've maxed out the setback to that garage and septic. We look at the east side and we're proposing a carport to a reduction of 6.5 feet. That is to a singular post, and it is an open design for view. I want to further point out that the cottage to the east is a short-term rental. So when using the cottage as a short-term rental, kind of focusing towards the cottage in the lakefront, where our proposed addition of our garage is towards the rear. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. And is there anyone else wishing to speak in support? Anyone in opposition? No? Are there questions for the members? No? Excuse me. Moved by member Bridgman, second by member Stokes. Be it resolved that minor variance application A 6525, Brenton and Martin, to expand a single-story garage and add a second story to a storage in the upper level is hereby approved with the following variance being granted. 1, to permit a maximum lot coverage of 1,846 square feet, that's 8.6%, within 200 feet of the high water mark for a Category 2 lake, and 2, to permit a minimum interior side lot line setback to be 6.5 feet. These variances are granted as shown on a plan attached to the notice of decision. This approval shall remain in effect for 3 years from the date of decision. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That's carried.
Thank you.
And the next application is A7025, and that's Ms. Walker.
Thank you, Chair Edwards. The next application to be heard is minor variance application A-70/25 in the name of La Palme. The subject lands are known municipally as 6 Island M69A. I direct committee's attention to the submitted site plan on page 211 of the agenda package. The applicants are proposing to construct a sauna, a single-story boathouse with a rooftop sun deck, and recognize an as-built propane tank. The proposed variances are summarized as shown on the screen, and this table was included in the circulation materials and can be found in the agenda package. Notice of this public hearing under the Planning Act was circulated 13 days in advance of this meeting, and 4 comments have been received to date. Comments were received from Nick Snyder, the Township's Chief Building Official, Matt Veach, the Township's Development and Transportation Engineering Coordinator, Paul Lydon, the Township's Fire Prevention Officer, Chriselle Story, the Township's Land and Agreements Coordinator, all of which stated no objection to the application. These comments were all circulated to committee prior to today's meeting. Staff have prepared a detailed report for committee's consideration and have recommended the application be approved. I have no other comments, but I'm happy to assist committee with any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is the applicant's agent here wish to speak on this?
Yes. Hello again. Jillian Snyder, Planscape Inc., 104 Kimberly Avenue in Bracebridge, P1L1Z8. Today I'm presenting on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. La Palme, owners of 6 Island M69A, locally known as Todern Island on Lake Muskoka. I don't have much to add to this application. However, I just wanted to note that this is lot coverage within 200 feet of the shoreline, obviously. The actual total lot coverage is 4.3%, so it's rather minor in nature. I also wanted to acknowledge that the coverage spoken about today differs slightly from that of our staff report. So in our report, we speak to 10.8% coverage, whereas today we're speaking about 10.6%. This difference is due to the propane tank no longer being considered as part of coverage because it's not a roof structure, whereas previously we were including it as part of coverage. And with regards to the propane tank, the setback is necessary in order for the tank to be filled from the water because this is a water access property. This is in keeping with the character of the area, which many surrounding properties have similar setbacks for their propane tanks. This boathouse is also an increased setback from the existing condition of the dock, which is on the property, and it meets all bylaw standards. And I'm here for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in support or opposition? I have to ask. Are there questions from the members? None. Moved by member Stokes, second by member Bridgman. Be it resolved that minor variance application A7025 La Palme to construct a sauna and a single-story boathouse with a rooftop sun deck and recognize an as-built propane tank is hereby approved with the following variance being granted: to permit a lot coverage of 4,137 square feet or 10.6% within 200 feet of the high water mark, and 2, to permit a front yard setback to be 18 feet for an as-built propane tank. These variances are granted as shown on the plan attached in the notice of decision. This approval shall remain in effect for 3 years from the date of decision. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That's carried.
Thank you.
Next application is A7525, and that's Ms. Crowder.
Thank you, Chair Edwards. The last application to be heard today is minor variance application A7525 in the name of Donald. The subject lands are known municipally as 1685 Beatrice Town Line Road. Concurrent consent and zoning bylaw amendment applications B25, 26, 24 ML and ZBA 3224 in the names of Donald were recently approved by council in September of 2025 to create 2 new lots on Beatrice Town Line Road. The purpose and effect of this minor variance application is to revise the site-specific zoning bylaw to correct a few measurements and to include the correct version of the consent sketch showing these changed measurements. These changed measurements relate to the lot frontage of severed Lot 1 being a change of 1 foot and a change in lot frontage and area of severed Lot 2 being an increase of 50 feet in frontage and an increase of 1.87 acres in size. Staff have no concerns with these changes. Notice of this application was circulated 16 days in advance of this public hearing. A total of 3 comments were received. Comments from Nick Snyder, the Township's Chief Building Official, and Paul Lyden, the Township's Fire Prevention Officer, were received, both stating no objection to the application. Comments were also received from Matt Veach, the Township's Development Transportation Engineering Coordinator, stating no comments or concerns, so long as there are no impacts or adjustments made to the required conditions of consent for the original applications on the property. Planning staff can confirm that those conditions remain in effect. Staff have prepared a detailed report for committee's consideration and recommend that the application be approved. I have no further comments at this time, and I'm happy to answer any questions from committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Crowder. Is there anyone here wishing the agent or agents or the owner?
Yeah, the agents.
Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, staff and committee members. Thank you for your attention to this matter today. I'm just here to answer any questions if you have any. And look forward to having this approved. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Oh, we need your name and address and postal code, please.
Oh, pardon me. My name is Zachary Alliston, acting as the agent for the applicant. My address is 1615 Beatrice Town Line Road, Port Carling, Bracebridge, Ontario, P1L 1X4.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone wishing to speak in support of this application? Objection? Questions from the members? Member Grogan Green, second by Member Stokes. Be it resolved that minor variance application A7525 Donald to gain relief from site-specific bylaw 2025-099 being a bylaw to facilitate the creation of 2 new rural residential lots is hereby approved with the following variances being granted. 1, to permit a maximum lot coverage to permit a maximum lot frontage to be 507 feet for the severed lot 1 in consent application B2524 ML. 2, to permit a maximum lot frontage and area to be 550 feet and 8.52 acres respectively for the separate lot 2 in consent application B2624 ML, and 3, to replace Schedule 3 of bylaw 2025-099 to reflect the lot frontage and area indicated in the above noted variances. These variants are granted as shown on the plan attached to the notice of decision. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That's carried. The last resolution is moved by member Bridgman, second by member Stokes. Be it resolved that Committee of Adjustment hearing adjourned at 10:07 PM. And the next regular Committee of Adjustment hearing will be held Monday, December the 8th, 2025 at 9 AM. All those in favor? That's carried.